The galaxy had known only peace for over 200 years. Trade ships moved freely between the stars. War fleets were mostly ceremonial. And the younger generation believed war itself was something from old history vids. The Alliance patrolled the borders but rarely had any reason to fire a shot. It was a time of comfort, a time when most thought danger no longer existed. That illusion shattered on an ordinary patrol day when a deep space listening post at the far edge of the rim detected something impossible. The operator on duty, a board-comms officer named Relin, almost ignored the strange blip at first. Was small on the display, barely brighter than the background noise. But then it moved fast. Far faster than any civilian craft, and in a perfect straight line. Roland frowned and ran the data twice. The object wasn't decelerating like a ship should. It was accelerating toward Alliance space. Thinking it might be a meteor or stray mining drone, he switched to long-range scans. That's when he saw the power signature. It didn't match anything in the Alliance database, not military, not civilian, not even pirate tech. The energy readings pulsed in a strange rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Roland sent the data up the chain. Within minutes, high-priority alerts echoed through the outpost. The commander demanded visuals, and the station's long-range telescope locked onto the approaching object. The first image appeared on the main screen, and the room went silent. It wasn't a rock, it wasn't a damaged probe. It was a ship. A single, massive warship. Its hull was black as the void, shaped like a spearhead, its surface covered in strange angular patterns that absorbed light. It looked nothing like any known design, and yet its lines spoke of efficiency and purpose. The ship had no escort. No visible insignia, except for a faded marking. Along the side alien letters, none of the officers recognized. The station commander sent the image to Central Command with one urgent note. This vessel is unlike anything we have ever encountered. Orders came back within minutes: do not engage, do not hail, only observe. But even as they watched, the warship adjusted course, heading not for a trade route or a planet, but directly toward the Alliance's border defense grid. When it crossed into sensor range, the ship did something no one expected. It stopped. Not a gradual slowdown one moment, it was moving at impossible speed. The next, it was perfectly still. The listening post scrambled to recheck readings, certain it was a glitch. But the data held. Then the ship spoke. The transmission cut in two. Every comm channel in the station, overriding standard encryption. The voice was deep, steady, and carried an authority that silenced every room it reached. This is the UN's retribution. You have one cycle to explain yourselves. No threats, no greetings. Screen, feeling a chill crawl down his spine. GANs. The acronym meant nothing to him. But the way the voice said the name, it felt old, heavy, like a title carried through centuries. The message repeated once, then the channel went dead. The warship did not move. By the time news reached the Alliance High Council, the image of the mysterious vessel was already spreading across the galaxy. Civilian forums buzzed with wild theories: secret Alliance prototype, rogue AI warship, ancient precursor craft. Military analysts were less dismissive. The ship's power readings indicated it carried weapons capable of generating output beyond any known dreadnought, yet it traveled alone. No fleet, no support ships. Just one solitary giant, calmly waiting at the edge of their space. In the listening post, Roland watched the silent vessel through the telescope feed. Its black hull reflected nothing, as if it swallowed the stars behind it. No running lights, no open hangars, no visible crew movement. And yet somehow he felt it was watching them. Not just the station him. Like the ship itself was alive. Hours passed, and the tension only grew. Small Alliance patrol craft approached within visual range to observe. Without firing a shot, the Retribution sent out a short-range pulse. Every patrol ship's systems went offline instantly. Engines dead, weapons disabled, even life support struggling. Seconds later, all systems came back online. No damage, no casualties, just a silent demonstration of control. Relin's commander ordered all smaller craft to retreat. The station itself switched to emergency alert status. No one said it out loud, but the truth was clear. If this ship wanted them gone, there was nothing they could do to stop it. As the first day ended, the warship still hovered at the border. It made no move to advance, no attempt to communicate. Further, it simply waited, patient and unshaken, as if it knew the galaxy would come to it. Somewhere in the council chambers far away, leaders argued about what to do, but in the silent void, Roland knew one thing for certain. This was not a random encounter. This ship had come here for a reason. And whatever that reason was, the galaxy was not ready for it. The Alliance High Council met in an emergency session for the first time in decades. The chamber, normally calm and ceremonial, now pulsed with heated voices and overlapping arguments. Every species of the Alliance had a representative presence, towering, some scaled, some barely larger than a child, but all shared the same expression: unease. On the main display above them hung the image of the black warship, the UN's Retribution. It sat there like a dark shadow against the stars, unmoving, untouchable, and waiting. Admiral Kor, commander of the border fleets, stood at the center podium, his scaled hands gripping the edge. We cannot afford to let this vessel remain. In our space unchecked, its technology surpasses ours in every measurable way. That pulse attack it disabled 6 patrol ships without a single shot fired. If that is a warning, we should treat it as one. Others disagreed. Counselor Vera, a tall, silver-skinned diplomat, raised her voice above the noise. And what do you propose, Admiral? Attack it? We don't even know who they are, where they came from, or what they want? You've seen the scans. That hull is made from a composite we cannot identify. Our weapons might as well be pebbles against it. An older representative from the core worlds leaned forward. The name wins. That's ancient human language. English. Could this be one of their ships? The chamber fell silent for a moment. Humanity, one of the youngest members of the Alliance, was known for its stubbornness, speed at adapting, and its military history before joining the peaceful order. But humans had no active warships of this magnitude, at least none recorded. Back at the border, the Retribution still waited. Its position was precise, exact just inside Alliance territory, as if daring them to act, beside the listening post. Roland continued to monitor every flicker of its systems. The strange heartbeat-like pulse of its power core had not stopped. Every 30 seconds, it rippled through the scans. Steady and alive. Without warning, the ship moved, again, but not forward. Instead, it rotated slowly until its spear-shaped bow faced the listening post directly. The black surface gleamed faintly. Against a distant sun, revealing details the crew hadn't noticed before, deep scars along the hull, as though it had survived battles against weapons far deadlier than anything the Alliance possessed. Relan's stomach tightened. It's looking at us, he whispered. Then the voice came again, but this time over a secure channel, one only the listening post could hear. We are here for the Council. Bring them to us. The commander of the post immediately sent the transmission to Central Command. There was no room for misunderstanding. It was a demand, not a request. But the phrasing was strange. Bring them to us. Who exactly did them refer to? The High Council as a whole? Specific members? The order from above was swift. Keep observing. Do not respond. A fleet was dispatched from the nearest core world not to attack, but to form a protective barrier between the Retribution and the populated systems beyond. It was a gesture of defiance, but everyone knew it was symbolic. If the mysterious warship chose to move, the fleet would not stop it. As the fleet assembled, Relan noticed something else. The Retribution had released small, barely detectable drones. They were invisible to the naked eye, but the station's deep spectrum scanners caught them. Hundreds of them, spreading outward like a web, mapping the surrounding space. Each drone's signal matched the warship's strange energy rhythm. Within hours, reports came in from other stations. Communications were being intercepted, encrypted. Files accessed without authorization, classified star maps copied. The Retribution was learning everything about the Alliance in the Council chamber. Panic began to take root beneath the arguments. If they wanted war, they could have started it already, one representative said. So why wait? I gather intelligence. Why demand to meet us? No one had an answer. On the listening post's observation deck, Roland stared at the warship's image. The longer he looked, the more he felt the weight of its presence. This wasn't an ordinary military vessel, it felt like a predator one that had wandered into the galaxy's safe pasture and found the herd unprepared. Then, for the first time, the ship moved forward slowly, deliberately toward the fleet that had formed a defensive line. The fleet commander ordered all ships to hold position. Tension spiked as the Retribution drew closer. At a distance of only a few kilometers, it stopped again. A new transmission cut through every comm channel in the fleet and the listening post. The voice was the same deep, steady tone, but this time it carried something colder. Your galaxy has grown soft. We will speak to your leaders, or we will decide for you. The channel closed. The warship didn't move again, didn't have to. The message was clear. The next decision belonged to the Alliance, and the wrong one could be the last they ever made. The High Council finally agreed the demand could not be ignored. A delegation would be sent to meet the mysterious vessel face to face, but no one volunteered to be on it. The thought of boarding a warship capable of dismantling fleets with a single pulse chilled even the most fearless among them. In the end, they assembled a carefully chosen team. Diplomats from 3 major species, a military observer, a cultural historian, and a single human representative, Captain Elias Rourke. Rourke was an odd choice. Wasn't a politician or a high-ranking admiral. He was a retired warship captain, one who had served in small-scale defense conflicts before the Alliance era of peace began. Many suspected his presence wasn't for diplomacy, it was for translation. Or perhaps to remind the humans of what they used to be capable of. A sleek, diplomatic vessel. The Aurora departed from the core worlds and made its way to the border. Where the UN's Retribution waited, the journey was tense. The crew spoke in hushed tones, as if the warship could somehow hear them across the void. Even when they were days away, they could still see the Retribution on long-range sensors. A fixed and unyielding point in space. When they finally arrived, the warship dwarfed the Aurora. Its hull was like blackened armor, a seamless wall of alien yet human design. There were no visible weapon ports, yet every line of its frame radiated the potential for violence. Transmission coming in. The Aurora's come officer said. The voice returned, deep and steady. Approach slowly. Docking coordinates transmitted. Any deviation will be taken as hostile action. No one spoke as the smaller vessel glided forward. The docking clamps of the Retribution emerged from a hidden bay, latching onto the Aurora. With a final metallic thunk that echoed through the hull, the boarding ramp extended. Rourke led the delegation down, his steps heavy in the silence. The air inside the warship was colder, denser, carrying the faint scent of metal and ozone. The corridors were wide but dimly lit, the walls marked with faint, almost ceremonial engravings. They were greeted not by an army, but by a single figure, a tall man in a black uniform. The insignia on his chest bearing 3 silver bars and a crest none of the delegation recognized. His eyes were sharp, his posture rigid, his expression unreadable. I am Commander Hale, acting captain of the UN's Retribution, he said without hesitation. His voice matched the one from the transmissions. You have questions? I have answers, but you will listen first. The delegation followed him into what appeared to be a command chamber. Holographic displays flickered with star maps, maps that did not match the Alliance's own. In fact, many of the systems shown weren't even in their known galaxy. Commander Hale turned to face them. Your Alliance has been living in peace for too long. You've forgotten what's beyond your borders. We've not. We've fought wars you've never heard of, against enemies you've never imagined. And now, they are coming here. The chamber fell silent. The diplomats exchanged wary glances, unsure if this was a threat or a warning. Rourke stepped forward. If you're human, why haven't we heard of you? No records, no transmissions, no contact, nothing. You've been hiding. Hale's eyes hardened. We weren't hiding. We were surviving. The UN's Retribution? is the last of the outer fleet ships sent beyond Alliance space to intercept threats before they reached you. We've lost hundreds of worlds, billions of lives, and now the enemy we've been holding back has found a way through. He tapped a control, and the holographic map shifted. Dark wave began to spill across the display, consuming star after star. They move silently. They don't negotiate. They don't conquer. They erase. Out. If you think your fleets can stop them, you are wrong. The only reason your galaxy is still alive is because we've been out there, dying for it. One of the alien diplomats finally spoke. If this is true, then why demand our leaders come to you? Why not come to them? Hale's answer was as cold as the warship's steel walls. Because I do not trust your leaders to act quickly enough. I've seen the Alliance debate itself into an action while entire systems burned. We don't have time for politics. We need to prepare now, or there will be nothing left to prepare for. The delegation was stunned. They had come expecting intimidation, maybe even an ultimatum. Instead, they had been given a grim prophecy. But in the back of their minds, one question lingered. If this ship had truly been holding the line for so long, what kind of enemy could possibly force it to retreat? As they were escorted back to the Aurora, the warship's massive hangar doors closed behind them with a final, echoing rumble. The Retribution remained still, waiting not for permission, but for the galaxy to finally realize how much danger it was in. The Aurora had barely cleared the docking bay when Commander Hale's voice came over the comms again, this time with no trace of formality. Change course now. The delegation looked at each other in confusion. The diplomats murmured protests, but Rourke recognized the tone immediately. It wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. The comm officer hesitated. Commander, our instructions are to return to the core. Hale's voice cut in, colder than space itself. You turn that ship around and follow the coordinates I just sent, or you'll be floating home in pieces, before anyone could argue further. The Retribution's massive shadow moved alongside them. The warship didn't fire, but its sheer presence left no doubt. Disobedience was not an option. The Aurora's captain gave the order, and the ship pivoted toward a distant cluster of stars. Hours passed in tense silence. The Retribution held position just behind them like a silent predator. No one knew what they were heading toward. Even the normally talkative diplomats kept their voices low, as if speaking too loudly might attract whatever Hale was taking them to see. When they finally dropped out of FTL, the view hit them like a physical blow. Before them floated a shattered planet. Not bombarded, not burned. Simply gone, its crust peeled apart like a cracked egg, its core exposed and cooling in the void. Debris drifted silently, illuminated only by the weak light of the system's dying sun. There were no cities left. No ships, not even wreckage big enough to identify. This was Caldra Prime, Hale's voice said over the comms. Quieter now. Population, 14 billion. The Alliance knew it as a trade hub. 2 weeks ago, it was here. One of the alien diplomats whispered, What? What could do this? Hale appeared on the comm screen. His eyes looked heavier, like he was carrying the weight of every corpse left in this graveyard. They call themselves nothing. They do not speak. They do not leave survivors. They eat planets. Not resources. Everything. Matter, energy, life, gone. The Retribution's sensors picked up movement at the edge of the system. Hale's head turned sharply. You're about to meet them. In the distance, a shape emerged from the black. At first, it looked like a jagged asteroid, slowly rotating. Then, it changed. Its surface shifted, almost like liquid metal, and from its core, spikes of light shot outward. Energy signatures flared, but there was no engine, no drive plume. It simply drifted closer. Ignoring the laws of motion like they didn't exist, the diplomats leaned forward, fascinated and horrified. Then the thing moved. It didn't accelerate. It was suddenly closer. Space itself seemed to fold around it, and with every flicker, it was nearer still. Shields up, Hale ordered, its voice a low growl. The Retribution came alive. Energy barriers flared along its hull, cannons unfolded from hidden compartments, and its engines roared to life. The alien vessel gave no response, no signal, just a silent advance. The Aurora's captain panicked. "We can't fight that. You're not going to?" Hale snapped. "You're going to watch." The alien construct stopped dead in space, as if studying its prey. Then, without warning, it released a beam of pure darkness, not light, not heat, but the absence of everything. The beam sliced through the Aurora's shields like paper. Warnings screamed through the ship as systems began shutting down. In an instant, the Retribution moved between them. Its own shields flared as the beam hit, warping and bending under the impact, but holding barely. Then the warship struck back. One shot. A single pulse of golden energy leapt from its forward cannon. The alien vessel twisted violently as if something massive had slammed into it, and then it was going to vanish into the void. Leaving nothing behind, the Aurora's systems flickered back online. In the silence that followed, every member of the delegation understood the truth. The Retribution wasn't here to intimidate them. It was the only reason they were still alive. Hale's voice came through again, calm but final. That was a scout. "The main fleet will come next. You've got 3 weeks." The Aurora limped alongside the Retribution, her hull still scorched from the alien weapons near -kill.no. One on the delegation spoke for the first hour after the encounter. It wasn't just showkit, was the realization that every assumption the galaxy had held about warfare was wrong. The so-called apex civilizations had always believed strength meant fleets, shields, diplomacy. Humanity's warship had just proven that none of those mattered against what was coming. Finally, Minister Keller, the senior representative, found his voice. "Commander Hale." "What do you want from us?" The human didn't answer right away. When his voice came, it was slow, deliberate. "I don't want anything. Act. Your people will decide what they want from themselves." That cryptic answer didn't satisfy anyone, but before they could press, the Retribution changed course, plunging toward the galactic rim. Hale explained only once. "If you're going to decide whether to fight, you should see what happens. When you don't." 3 days later, they arrived. The system was quiet, too quiet. No chatter, no navigation beacons. Not even passive sensor pings. As they drifted closer to the inner planets, the silence became oppressive, almost physical. Then, the debris appeared. It wasn't like the ruin of Caldra Prime. This was worse. Entire fleets hung frozen in space, their ships snapped in half, melted, or twisted into unrecognizable shapes.
Oh.
The metal wasn't scorched, it was hollowed out. The beams and hull plates looked as if they'd been drained of something invisible. Like the life had been sucked from them, the aliens aboard the Aurora stared in silent horror. This, Hale said, was the Vorin Combine. 20 systems. Fleet strength unmatched by anyone in the Outer Rim. They decided the threat was an exaggeration. This is what they look like now. A diplomat swallowed hard. How long did it take for this to happen? Hale's gaze didn't waver. 7 hours. The delegation exchanged stunned glances. 7 hours to erase a civilization? No war, no invasion, just gone. The Retribution's sensors pinged again. This time, the contact wasn't alien. A lone Vorin battleship drifted out from behind a shattered moon. No power readings came from its core. The ship's running lights were dark, its engines cold. Hale ordered the Retribution closer. As they approached, the reason became clear. Through one of the fractured hangar bays, they could see inside. The crew was still there, rather, what was left of them. It looked frozen in place, eyes wide, mouths open in silent screams. Their skin was pale, almost translucent, as though every spark of energy in their bodies had been ripped away. The aliens aboard the Aurora turned away. Some gagged, some trembled. But no one looked Hall in the eye. "This is what you're facing," he said quietly. "If you wait until they come to your worlds, you won't even have time to send a distress call." Keller finally asked the question on everyone's mind. "And if we join you, will we survive?" Hale was silent for a long moment. Then with a voice like stone, "We survive by killing them first." The Retribution's engines roared, and the warship began plotting a course deeper into uncharted space. The delegation didn't know it yet, but Hale wasn't just showing them what was at stake. He was leading them straight toward the enemy's territory. The Retribution cut through the void like a blade. No escorts. No support fleets, just one human warship dragging a delegation of Galaxy's most cautious leaders straight toward the territory no sane species entered. The alien diplomats whispered among themselves to demand they turn back. Others argued they needed to see what humanity planned, no matter the risk. Keller stayed silent, eyes locked on the forward display. Something in Commander Hale's steady, almost cold expression told him this was not a demonstration. They were already at war. After 2 days at high warp, the alarms sounded. Multiple signatures, the sensor officer reported. Its size and profile matched the threat fleet. Shapes emerged from the darkness, vast angular ships, their hulls blacker than space itself, lit only by pulsing veins of violet energy. There was no formation, no elegant maneuvering. The enemy didn't need tactics. They moved like predators, surrounding the Retribution in seconds. One of the alien delegates gasped, "We can't fight this." Hale didn't look at him. "We're not going to fight, we're going to kill." With a low thrum, the Retribution systems came alive. Layer upon layer of armor shifted, revealing hidden weapons arrays that none of the delegation had seen before. Human crew's voices were calm, almost casual. They called out firing solutions. Then it began. The first shot wasn't visible to the naked. Just a blinding flash on the tactical display as one of the black ships imploded, collapsing in on itself before vanishing entirely. The second strike tore through 3 enemy cruisers, vaporizing them so completely there wasn't even debris. The aliens on the Aurora stared, speechless.
Ow.
The Retribution didn't maneuver to dodge incoming fire. Its shields shimmered with every hit, but instead of weakening, they grew brighter, feeding on the enemy's own energy. Every attack made the warship stronger, but the enemy adapted. Massive spear-like projectiles formed on their capital ships, launching in perfect unison toward the Retribution. One hit could gut a city-sized vessel, Brace Hale ordered. The projectile struck. Instead of shattering the human warship, they detonated prematurely, as if torn apart by an unseen force. Hale's voice came over the comms graviton shear field. "Learned that trick after they took Ceres base. The humans counterattacked, not with missiles, but with something worse. A weapon fired that the alien delegates didn't even see. But they felt it, tan, icy, bone-deep, chill, like the air itself had been pulled from their lungs. On the display, the enemy ships froze mid-movement. Pulsing violet veins across their hulls dimmed, then died. One by one, they drifted lifelessly. Into the void. The battle was over in less than 9 minutes. No one on the delegation spoke. The Retribution's crew went about their tasks as if they'd just completed a routine drill. Finally, Hale turned toward them. "That was a scout fleet," he said. "The real war hasn't started yet." Keller found his voice barely. "The rest of the galaxy?" Hale's eyes narrowed. "You'll either stand with us now, or watch your worlds vanish, like the Vorin. There won't be a third option." Outside the viewport, the wreckage of the enemy's ships spun silently in the cold dark. Somewhere beyond, deeper in uncharted space, more of them were waiting. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy realized that its survival depended on a single human warship and the people willing to follow it. The Retribution set course for the enemy's heart. The war had only just begun,